Yo, homeboy.
Huh? What? I am sorry. Are you talking to me?
Yo, homeboy.
What? What?
Let's do the show.
What?
We're doing a show.
What show?
The Video Game Losers Show.
Yay! Episode 26. Here we are again. Once again, don't forget you can find out more episodes of the show at videogamelosers.com or the Pop Culture Network.
Yep.
Okay, is that it?
So, yeah.
Are we done? Is that the whole show? Go ahead and turn it off.
All right.
We're done.
So you're watching our terrorist video. I'm talking about games.
You're watching the worst show on the internet. The Video Game Losers here on the Pop Culture Network. As always, I'm co-host Dirt along with co-host. You can say your name? No?
I'm signing it.
Yeah. No.
Killing.
No, I think you just told them something about their mother.
I did. I really did.
Horrible sign language.
Oh.
I have a hard time understanding you.
Or really good if I'm talking Yang, which I was.
Oh, was that like Spanish sign language? Like you were signing in a foreign language? Is that why I was having a hard time?
Does that even work?
Well, you would have to.
Or did somebody decide when they were making sign language that it was automatically English?
Well, no, I mean it's hat. Like if you sign the word hat, it's hat in whatever language is hat.
But you know how some languages don't have words in all languages? How does that work? See what I'm saying? Wow, that's a good one.
You just blew my mind.
That's a good one.
Blew my mind. I don't know if they have like a single symbol for like the hope that comes from the dawn of a new day after a restless night. Like if there's a single, like is it something like that? Like I don't know if there's a single, or if that's one they just do the letters for.
I think you just signed fallopian tube.
Right. Well, yeah, because
hope of it. Oh, I'm right.
Because I'm thinking about cows and I'm kind of turned on.
Gotcha.
So.
Hamburgers.
Right. Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about some video game news this week. First up, Max Payne 3 has shipped 3 million copies. Hasn't sold 3 million, but it's shipped 3 million copies. And that's a little lower than Take-Two was hoping for.
Well, they plan to ship a lot more?
Apparently, yes.
3 million is a lot.
3 million is a lot, but...
for the state that we're in.
They
Not
said
for the country.
They said Max Payne 3 and Spec Ops The Line, which was their other game they were hoping. Spec Ops... You know anything about that?
I don't know about that game. I know it's one of those old PS2 games no one cares about.
Yeah, I was going to say, weren't Spec Ops like the budget, like PS1 games? And
yeah, they're super dumb.
So apparently there's a new PC version of that they were hoping people would buy, and they didn't. So, I mean, they said, looking forward, Borderlands 2, NBA 2K13, Bioshock Infinite, they think all of those will help, the company. They're not really in danger or anything right now, but Max Payne 3 is just not the hit they were expecting.
It'll get popular. Kind of like how San Andreas is still very popular on old systems. Maybe Max Payne 3 will be like, I'm playing my PS4, but oh man, I still love Max Payne 3. Probably not, but probably not.
All right, next up. Grand Theft Auto 5 has started their viral marketing blitz, pushing for the new game. Something called the Epsilon Program has appeared online. If you follow their Twitter account or go to their website, it's some sort of game-created religion. It's like a Scientology, basically. But this one is called the Epsilon Program for Grand Theft Auto 5. It, of course... people did the tracebacks. They traced it back to Take-Two, so it's obviously part of that. There's some references you can pick up. But if you go ahead and do when the show's over. I was going to say right now, but don't do it right now. Wait till the show's over. Do a Google search for the Epsilon Program, and you'll start to find the first little glimmers of Grand Theft Auto 5. Sony was looking at their Q1 2012 results, and they said that they've lost about $45 million.
Boo-hoo.
Now, they expected somewhat of a loss because of, Vita launch and still, pushing that and marketing going into it. You always pay more up front in the hopes that, long term it's going to pay off, but Vita is not doing well at all. Of course, the push for things like the PSP has completely died. PS3 is, it's okay. It's not doing great, whatever. PS2 is basically dead. So
$45 million to Sony is not a lot of money, though. That's like not a big loss when they're doing billions of dollars in sales.
Yeah. Their quarter one, 2012, was $312 million. So 45, not as big a deal.
Whatever. That's like lunch at McDonald's for a week. Who cares?
Now, remember last week you were talking about Final Fantasy games.
Yeah.
Some of your favorites.
Uh-huh.
Things like that. Final Fantasy 3 is going to be joining the launch of the Ouya console, the Android-based console funded through Kickstarter. Square has signed on, basically said that they will be pumping out a bunch of games to the system. They think it looks really great. They can't wait to get involved in the process. And so one of the first things they're going to be doing, since Final Fantasy 3 is coming out on Android, they're going to kind of bump it up a little bit, do some tweaks to it, and make a special version for the Ouya console. And so, of course, having Square Enix, basically jumping on the console bandwagon and saying they're going to support the console is really good for them. It's their first big major publisher to jump on board and really get behind it.
Are you still going to put some money down?
I want to, but at the same time, it's like, when are they actually going to charge me that $100? It's kind of like that whole Maddie subscription thing.
Well, at the end of the thing.
Yeah, but not always, though. Like, sometimes they wait like 15 days before they charge you.
Everyone I've done so far has been at the end.
Well, then no, because it ends at the worst possible time.
Okay.
If it ended like on a payday on the middle of the month, I could probably do it, but...
Well, maybe we should just wait and let them work out all the bugs, and then we don't have to worry about it. And buy them at retail or something when they're actually good.
Now, the other news coming from the Ouya is that Shadowrun is going to be adding Ouya support. The game, Shadowrun Online, of course, PC game. A lot of PC players play that. They say a lot. Mm-hmm. I mean, really, how much is a lot for a PC game? Like 35, 40 people? I mean, is that what they count? Well, anyway, Shadowrun Online will be coming to the Ouya and to tablets, and we'll be able to, cross-platform play with everything else. So they're throwing that in the Ouya bag.
Okay.
Little Big Planet has been announced for the Vita with a launch date of September 25th. Now, of course, Little Big Planet is known as the console game where you can create your own levels. There's been so much fan support. There are whole communities just built around building stuff for the game. They've recreated classic games within Little Big Planet. So if you're playing Little Big Planet and you decide you want to play Quake or Doom or Pac-Man or anything like that, people have basically recreated those within the system. Well, now it's coming. It was on the PSP. Now it's coming to the Vita. So you're going to be able to get that next-gen touchscreen support. All the kids are clamoring.
Still never played it yet.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Did you ever play Rise of the Triad, the original PC
Yes.
game?
Uh-huh.
It's super gory.
Yep.
Shoot people with rocket launchers and they explode, kind of like what was that game? Mortal Kombat. With the PC.
Never heard of it.
PC. They took the photos of the people and then put them in the game. So then, like, you rip out their spine, it looks real. Well, they kind of did that with the first-person shooter thing. So they were all, people, sprites moving through there. Well, bringing the game back. The game came out originally in 94. So they're shooting for that whole kind of, like, 10th anniversary type deal. It's going to be running on the Unreal Engine 3. And, just saying that it'll be on PC for sure. May appear on consoles. It's just going to kind of have to wait and see and depend on what they can get done.
Okay.
Valve, people who run Steam, have updated the Steam subscriber agreement, which now says you cannot be part of any class action lawsuits against Steam.
How can they? You can't do that.
They sure enough did that. Let's see. Valve's statement, when contacted about this, said, "We consider this change very carefully. It's clear to us that in some situations, class actions have real benefits to customers. In far too many cases, however, class actions don't provide any real benefit to users and instead impose unnecessary expense and delay and are often designed to benefit the class action lawyers who craft and litigate these claims."
That's very true. I always say that's true. But at the same time, it's like, hey, you can't sue us if we do terrible work. That doesn't seem right.
Well, I mean,
I don't understand how you can like that seems unlawful for them to say that you can't be in any agreement like that. I would love to see that be challenged because I don't think that's right.
Well,
It's basically saying you can't. If we do something wrong, you can't tell on us.
no, you can tell them. You just can't sue them.
You can't
together
give them money?
as a group. You can do it one at a time.
Well, it is true because if some of you were subscribers to Netflix, there's a class action Netflix thing going on right now.
And you get absolutely nothing for it.
Right, and if you look at how much money, like I think $9 million was awarded, and it shows the breakdown where the money's going. It's like 90% of it goes to the lawyer, and then the split amongst the other how many thousands of customers.
There were like 4 people as part of the lawsuit. They each get like $40,000. The lawyers get like $2.5 million.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is going to go to non-profit organizations to be determined at a future date.
It's just like, well, why are you sending emails then?
So it's like, why? Like I get nothing out of this. Thanks a lot. You know?
Yeah, now you're sending me spam. I don't care if you're suing them. I'm not in this agreement if I'm not getting nothing.
So, yeah. Class action lawsuits are pretty bogus.
I've been in a few class actions where I got like $5, $3.
I got 28 cents because PNC Bank overcharged me when I was overseas using an ATM. Their exchange rates were wrong and people sued them. Great. Thanks a lot. Changed my whole life. All right, next up. Star Wars The Old Republic is going to go free to play. The subscriptions for the game have dropped below 1 million subscribers, which was kind of their threshold. So they're going to open it up as a free-to-play game, of course with microtransactions to pick up for the rest. I really liked the game. I did the beta test for it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I liked the storyline. I had a good time with it. But I'm not the type of person that's going to pay $10 to $15 a month to subscribe to a game. So it going free to play, actually, that's a lot of goodness for me as far as I'm concerned. I'll play that game.
Seems to be like all the MMORPGs are going free to play.
It just doesn't make sense to subscribe to a game. Like to pay a monthly fee. I'd much rather pay $20, $30 to buy the game up front than have this ongoing monthly fee, because what if you don't play it for a month? You know what I mean?
Well, you can thank Blizzard for that. They, everybody's trying to be the next World of Warcraft.
Well, actually, speaking of World of Warcraft, World of Warcraft has lost, has lost also 1 million subscribers since May. They're down to 9.1 million.
That's a lot.
They've lost 1 million since May, and actually, most of those have come from Eastern countries. The Asian markets and Middle Eastern markets. That's where most of those have been dropping out from. They're still doing okay in U.S. and European nations, but it's over in Asia they've lost. And that was, the gold farmers and everything, that was their big, because everybody in Asia who plays World of Warcraft is a gold farmer. I mean, we know that.
I guess they're moving on to bigger and better things. World of Warcraft, I'm really surprised they have 9 million users. When I was playing, they had 4, and that was a big deal. So, I don't know. The game was fun, but after all this time, it's like it's been too long. And if I wanted to get back into it, I wouldn't have enough time in my life.
They did say that in the same earnings call, whatever, that Diablo 3 has sold over 10 million copies. So that game is doing okay.
The problem with Diablo 3 is it's short.
Yeah, you need an expansion or something.
Yeah, because I'm already through it,
up.
and I'm going through the second level, the second time through, and I'm almost done with that. And let me tell you something. From one difficulty setting to the next is like, it's not just a little bit harder. It's like 1 million times harder. I didn't die once the first time around. The second time I'm dying left and right.
Well, that's part of the fun.
Yeah, so I can imagine people playing even on a harder setting.
So let's see. Blizzard, part of Activision now, they said they have brought in $1.8 billion in revenue. They said their biggest games, of course, beyond Diablo 3, which we just talked about, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, and Skylanders, Spyro's Adventure, still one of their biggest games. And, of course, they've got the new one coming out. They said $3.43 million in revenue, which is 32% of their total, comes from Call of Duty maps and World of Warcraft subscriptions and digital add-ons like that. So 32% from World of Warcraft and map packs.
So
that's a lot of map packs.
They better hope that no one comes out with a better MMORPG and they just flock away from World of Warcraft.
Well, I mean, every time there's a new one out, though, they're always like, oh, is this one going to top World of Warcraft? They never do.
They can't. Well, that game's just fun.
I never got into it.
And you know what the problem is? There's so many people that are long-time subscribers. They have to come out with a game that's really good.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that are just kind of locked into it because that's what they've always played.
Yeah, they're not going to try something new. And even when I was playing World of Warcraft, I would try other new ones, but they always sucked in comparison. There was like, it's okay, it's just not nearly as good. So...
Skyrim news, the Dawn Guard downloadable content has come out for PC. The PlayStation 3 version, however, is still in the works. It is not on any release calendar, and Bethesda just basically said they don't like the performance on the PS3, so they're still going to continue to work on it and tweak it, and they're not going to release it until it's right. So on the one hand, it's like, well, good for them not to just throw it out there and then say, we'll patch it later. But then on the other hand, it's like, kind of sucks. If you bought it on PlayStation 3 versus PC, you're going to have to sit and wait for that update.
I've been debating on playing that game.
We'll never see you again. Goodbye. It was nice knowing you.
I don't think it's that intense, but...
Apparently it is. You want to talk intense, though? The most intense game ever has been released, and it's free on your browser. It is Cooking Mama Breaking Bad. Now, this is not licensed in any capacity, but if you're familiar with Cooking Mama, it's a game in which different ingredients are brought to you, and you have to chop them, mix them, cook them, and arrange them in a specific order to create a dish. It's been a top seller. It's done very well for Majesco, I believe is the company. Breaking Bad, if you've ever seen that show, it's about a high school chemistry teacher finds out he has cancer, decides he wants to make a whole lot of money to leave to his family, so he starts cooking crystal meth. And so what they've done is combine the two into this free browser-based game where you combine the elements to make the best crystal meth possible following the Cooking Mama game engine. So you want to talk about your hardcore games. There are very few shows that are as hardcore as Breaking Bad. And
can you imagine if this game gets so popular, it's way better than Cooking Mama, and they're like, well, I guess we gotta make this game.
I can see this game disappearing in about 2 weeks when they're finally like, wait a minute, they're doing what now? Oh, shut that down. Shut that down now. You know? But super fun, awesome, good time. Check it out. Cooking Mama Breaking Bad. All right, that's going to do it for the news. You got some new releases of games you want to talk about there?
Oh, it's my turn? Okay.
Soldier, son?
All right. Let me wake up. Oh, okay. So this will be the first week of August, and we're going to have just a small amount of games releasing. Maybe it's because of the Olympics. Every other reason why anything sucks right now is because of the Olympics, so why not this?
That makes sense.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So one of the games that's releasing on the DS is for the on the eShop is going to be Commando Steel Disaster. Now, if you're a fan of the Commando series and you enjoy some of the other similar games like Metal Slug, you're going to enjoy this game because it is in fact just another Metal Slug clone using the Commando franchise.
That sounds all
what can I
right.
say? Yeah, those games are awesome. It looks nice. It looks just like the Metal Slug games. The same kind of art and
But this
style.
is DS, not 3DS, though?
You're right, on the DS, regular DS. So look for that game releasing. Up next for the 3DS, we do have Touch Battle Tank 3D. Now, if you're like, what is that?
What is that?
It is just like the old Atari game Combat,
Oh.
which is just, two random tanks in a overhead map with their little blocky style coming around and just shooting each other.
So does this look like the old Atari game?
Well, here's the deal with this one. This
okay.
is now enhanced to have a little bit better graphics. Of course, they're still sticking with the old style of the blocky, so you can recognize it as that game. But they've done a little bit better improvements on the graphics and added a little more dimension to the game than previously existed. Now, that is also a game you can download off the eShop. Okay, well, let's see. Up next, for the Vita and PS3, we have a game called Sound Shapes. Now, this is going to be one you can download off the Sony store there. And it is a game where you pretty much compose and play music mixed in with a side-scrolling platform game. So kind of like a Mario, but not so intense. Basically, you're just jumping around, moving to different obstacles, collecting little, not gold coins, but similar type thing, and you're mixing and arranging the music of the game level as you're playing it. So it's a really good mix of an action game meets a music creation game, and it features music by Beck. So could be interesting.
I heard he had a devil's haircut.
And just 2 turntables and a microphone. That's all
how
he
you
did.
do
That's
it.
all he
Yeah.
did to make it.
Well,
So look for that game on the Vita and the PS3. Now, up for the 360 and PS3 as a full retail release is going to be a game called Persona 4 Arena. Now, what this game is basically is taking characters from the Persona 3 RPG and Persona 4 RPG and putting them into a now fighting game.
What?
Taking them out of the RPG worlds, now I put them into a just side-by-side fighting game.
What?
And this worked really well if you remember back in the PS1 games where they took the characters from Final Fantasy VII and put them into a fighting game. I think it was called some weird.
Oh, ear
yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Same kind of concept, but now with the Persona characters. And again, 360, PS3, major release. That game would actually be good if you actually cared about Persona. Me, in fact, I didn't play that game, but I like the concept. And let's see, what else we got here? That's it.
I can't remember what's that. Oh, no, that's next.
I thought I had something else queued up. But no, that's it. That's really all of any interest. There's still a couple of other things releasing, but these are the major titles. Don't even look at my list.
What about...
Don't even look at my
What
list.
about...
No. So that's all coming out for your first week of August. Stay inside. It's hot outside. Play some games.
Drought season. So burn some coal.
Now back to you, Dirt, in the newsroom.
Yes, great to be back here. We are going to do a retro review here today.
Oh.
We do have a game in mind that we want to talk about a little bit. A little bit of controversy surrounding this game. Maybe you've heard of it. It came out a long time ago. This game actually came out in 1982. Came out for the Atari 2600. Ringing bells with anybody? Anybody?
Think of the worst game possible
The Bouncer on PS2.
for the Atari.
Oh, for the Atari. The Bouncer for Atari 2600? Okay. Game, of course, today we're going to be talking about is E.T. the Extraterrestrial. There's a lot of urban legends and a lot of, stories about the game, behind the game.
Are we going to debunk them?
We're going to discuss them at least.
We got hold of the creators and we sat down.
We did a 10-hour interview. We will be sharing none of it with you.
That was just for our own nerdy.
Yeah, we were just like, hey, this will be fun. Why not? But basically, the game was made by Howard Scott Warshaw. Did you fart?
No.
What does that smell?
What?
What does that smell?
What
It smells like you farted. All right. Anyway, the game was developed by Howard Scott Warshaw, the guy who did Yar's Revenge.
Make sure you're not having a heart attack.
Yar's Revenge is considered one of the greatest games on the Atari 2600.
If you smell nickels, it's not good.
He made... I taste pennies. But he made E.T., which is considered one of the worst games on the Atari 2600. Basically, what happened was Warner Brothers bought the Atari company. They were turning it into a big corporate, monolith, whatever, and it totally backfired on them. They licensed a deal to make a game off of E.T. So by the time they had secured the license and made all the big money maneuvers and everything, they had 5 weeks to get the game complete so that the cartridges, instruction manuals, boxes could be manufactured and shipped to stores in time for Christmas. So this guy basically had 5 weeks to put together a game based on E.T.
Yeah, I think he literally just took 2 hours and put it together.
He actually got on a plane, met with Steven Spielberg, and they sat down and were discussing what type of game, and Spielberg said, could you just make Pac-Man, but make it E.T. and have him eating Reese's Pieces? And he goes, no, why would you take a game that's already made and just remake it with something different?
I would have done a lot better.
Would you remake E.T.? And Spielberg's like, well, no, I guess I wouldn't remake the exact same movie. Like, doing a sequel or something. So they decided to use his original concept idea, which is the E.T. has to phone home. So the phone is broken and scattered across the city. and E.T. has to find the pieces, assemble them back together, and get to the field, the phone home, get picked up by his alien spacecraft, and go back to outer space.
I had no idea that was what you were supposed to be doing.
Yes. Actually, it says so in the instruction book, if you ever read it.
I didn't.
But basically, that's the idea. While you're trying to find pieces of the phone, there are scientists and government agents trying to grab you. You can collect Reese's Pieces. After you collect enough of them, you can call Elliot, and Elliot will bring by one of the pieces magically that he finds. Then you can reassemble it and go home. One of the biggest complaints about the game is that pieces of the phone are in what are called wells. And the wells just appear as giant pits. And as you're walking along, you'll fall randomly into one of these pits. You have to use your power to float yourself back out of the well. Now, you do have this radar thing that kind of goes off, so you know when you're getting close to a piece of the phone. So once you get real close to it, you're trying to find these pits to fall into, to find the piece, to get back out, to build the thing. But for the most part, a lot of people would fall into the pit, and then when they would come out, they would have a hard time landing back on the ground and getting out of the pit. They would fall right back in. And use their power to get out and fall right back in. It wasn't really clear what was going on to a lot of people. The game, they manufactured millions and millions. I don't even know if it's millions and millions, but they manufactured a lot of copies of this and a lot of extra systems because they thought it would be a system seller. They thought the game would be so huge at Christmas time, people would buy more systems of the Atari 2600, which at this point was already out 6 years. And they thought it was going to sell more.
That's not likely.
The game bombed. And, of course, it's one of the factors people say led into the great video game crash of 1982-83, which caused everything to basically implode and killed off the market until the Nintendo Entertainment System came along. Now, the urban legend that really surrounds this is that all the unsold cartridges were crushed in a landfill. And that's how the legend goes. And that's not 100% true. Basically, what happened was somewhere in Texas, I think it was in El Paso, Texas, Atari had a storage facility that they used for most of their stock that they would ship out from the El Paso, Texas location. And when the game didn't sell, when the extra consoles didn't sell, and all the extra product that they had building up in this distribution center, started to overload, they took it all to the landfill and dumped it. The landfill, part of their security is that every night they would go through with steamrollers and crush everything and put a layer of concrete on top. And so when all this stuff got dumped, it was all crushed, it was all cemented, and pushed down further into the earth as what this landfill did. So there was kind of this urban legend that there were so many copies of the cartridge left over that this cartridge filled the landfill and they were all crushed and destroyed so that nobody could get them. And it's not quite 100% true. It was all the Atari stock.
How many copies do you think were stolen out of that landfill?
Well, no, that's part of the thing. Part of the reason why Atari used that particular landfill was because they had high security. It was all fenced off. No one could get onto the grounds. Everything was crushed at the end of the day and covered with cement. The idea is that nothing.
Okay. Somebody grabbed a copy.
Someone probably grabbed one or two consoles and a couple games, but it wasn't just
I think
E.T. It was lots of other games.
That seems so ridiculous that they would even consider that as a. Why wouldn't they just hand them out to needy charities or you know what I mean?
Well, because this was a big corporate entity at that point that just, they didn't care.
Yeah.
They just had stock and they wanted to get rid of it.
Some soup made a terrible, terrible, terrible decision. They could have kept that thing going for a long time.
Now, as far as the game itself is concerned, I actually kind of enjoy it.
What? That game is unplayable.
No, it is perfect. Well, once you know that you're supposed to collect the pieces of the phone and get it together, then the game makes sense.
I didn't even know what those pieces were. They just looked like little blobs. And I wasn't even sure if I was even supposed to grab them or jump on top of them or whatever.
Well, now you know. And once you know how to actually play it, what the pitfalls are there for, and what you're actually supposed to do, it is kind of enjoyable. I enjoy it. It's not great. Anything you're going to play on the Atari 2600 is obviously going to be dated and have some issues. Even Yar's Revenge only has, I think, 2 screens, and it just kind of repeats and gets a little more difficult. But otherwise, it's the exact same thing. E.T., for a game that was developed so quickly, I mean, it's a fun. I wouldn't play it for like hours and hours. If I had paid, $60 for it when it was originally released back in '82, I'd probably be a little pissed off at it. But nowadays, as a game to just kind of look back as video game history, I don't think it's really.
Do you remember how much games cost? The Atari games cost back then?
A lot.
Because I don't remember the price point. Like, I don't think they were... Like, I remember Super Nintendo games. I mean, the price points of Super Nintendo games. I remember them being... Especially for, like, RPGs. I remember Final Fantasy 2 and 3 when they came out on Super Nintendo having a price tag of, I think it was somewhere between $70 to $90 at Toys R Us. And most of the games were like $60, $70, $50. I'm kind of curious what the actual cost of Atari games were back then at retail.
It was pretty high.
Was it like 20 or is it like...
No, it was $40 to $60. I'm trying to find the exact... there's a book called The Rise and Fall of Video Games, I think it's called, or The History of Video Games. And in it, one of the suits at Warner Brothers who did produce E.T. said that he kept on his desk for a long time a copy that he bought at retail. And it had the original price sticker of like $59.95, and then a sale price of $29.95, and then a sale price of $9.95, and then a sale price of 99 cents. And that's when he bought it. And he kept it on his desk as a reminder. As like, something that every time he was going to make a game decision, and every time something came up, he would always look at that to remind himself, like, you got to keep things in perspective and not go crazy, paying for licenses and stuff like that.
Yeah, so ultimately the big winner was Spielberg.
Yeah, Spielberg making a buttload of cash. But yeah, I don't think it's the worst game of all time. I think the Bouncer on PlayStation 2 is a lot worse than E.T. on PlayStation 2.
I don't agree with that at all.
Did you play the Bouncer?
Yes.
It's not good.
It's not terrible.
It's worse than E.T.
I could play that a lot longer than I could play E.T. Just so you know.
Well, you also don't like yourself. So
I don't.
Bringing yourself pain and misery is like part of your thing.
E.T. was just terrible. You just kept moving to the next map, to the next map. You're like, this is the same thing. This is the same thing. This is the same thing. And there's like, oh, there's a blob, something trying to get near me. I dodge them. And I'm keep moving, and I keep moving, and I keep moving. And you know what? I shouldn't even complain because there's a lot more terrible games out there. Like, what is that? Friday the 13th.
Well, I like Friday the 13th.
Whoa, that game.
Of course, I like it because I like Friday the 13th.
Completely
The game is actually pretty terrible.
That game is completely random.
that game is pretty bad. But Jason's in the game, so it's cool.
Yeah, whatever.
All right. Time for the fan corner, guys. What's the prize this week? Where's that?
Oh, man, I thought... there it is. Woo.
I was going to say, I thought you brought it out here.
So this week we're going to give away the Covenant Drop Pod Zealot Elite Halo Mega Block figures.
Yep.
Mega Block.
Woo! Look at that!
One of you lucky people will win this. The rest will not.
The rest of you can suck it. All right, first up, Ryan Orton says, hey guys, back in the day, did you ever have a subscription to Nintendo Power? There was no internet during that time, so Nintendo Power provided some great gaming tips and info to help me with a game I was stuck on. I always remember the 1-900 hotline that was a couple dollars a minute but never called. Great show, thanks for everything. Lord Killin' rules.
You know it.
He's just trying to win a prize. He doesn't mean that.
He means it.
He doesn't mean
Hey, you know what? That tip line,
Did you call it?
No, I never did.
Oh.
No, you know what? I think we did call it one time. And it was totally bogus. I can't remember. I remember we called because we just needed one little thing really quick. And my parents were like gone. So we grabbed the phone and like, we'll only be a minute or two and we'll get off the phone. But then they keep you on hold for a couple minutes. And then...
Well, yeah, okay. I called it once or twice. Game lines and stuff like that I've called before. And it's always something like, thanks for calling the Nintendo Power tip line. Here are some tips for our current Nintendo games. In Metroid, enter the code 33X509AB. And so then you'd have to sit there and listen to it forever and ever. And it's like, okay, I don't want Metroid. Okay, what are they talking about? Commando. No, I don't want Commando. Okay, now they're talking Tetris. I don't care about... Are there codes for Tetris? What the hell is it? No. So you'd have to just sit there and listen. So if the game you wanted the tip for was early on in the thing, then great. But if it wasn't, you might have to sit there like 5-10 minutes before it gets to the game you want. It was just
So you just listened to a recording? I actually talked to somebody.
Oh no, this was a recording.
Yeah, I talked to somebody and they probably just read from a book, I would guess, the way they responded.
They had one of those. They had one of these sheets.
But yeah, I did have a Nintendo subscription, and you're right. The best thing I loved about Nintendo Power was the full-on maps they had on the page that showed like screenshots all put together of the screen.
Like Castlevania.
Yeah, that was like the best. To
out.
this day, that's one of the things I love about that magazine is they actually mapped out the entire thing using photos, and I wish they would still keep doing it. They probably do.
You know, I
had. I don't even know.
I had Nintendo Power. I had Game Pro. I had Electronic Gaming Monthly. I had God. What were some of those other? There have been so many video game magazines that
Nintendo
have come
Power
and
was
gone.
like the best though.
What was Edge? Was one that came out for a while. There was one. I remember one that was like super Dreamcast heavy.
I don't know.
Like XLR or something like that. I don't remember. But yeah, I mean, every game, like that was one of the things, whenever like I was at work, and it'd be lunchtime and people were like, we're just going to run down the gas station and get like, you know, Frosties or Ices and, you know, whatever, instead of going to a restaurant or something. And I would always go and grab a gaming magazine. I mean, that was one of my things. It was like, I always wanted a game magazine. Whenever I was at the grocery store with my mom, it was like, you know, there's a new Game Pro. Let me get the Game Pro, you know. And Game Pro had a second magazine for a while. Electronic Gaming Monthly had a second magazine. There's EGM2 came out for a while, yeah. And then, of course, you had the specific ones that were...
Well, I thought Nintendo Power was still going. Like I thought
Nintendo Power is still going.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody who actually reads it anymore.
I think it's... Like, you have to go to, like, Toys R Us or Barnes & Noble if you want to buy it outside of a subscription. And the covers, I think, are different. Something like that.
Whatever.
Anyway. Yep. Totally. Next up, Burger General. Hey, guys. Which Game Boy console do you believe was the biggest jump when it comes to revolutionizing gaming? For example, the SP having a built-in light, the Game Boy Color for having a clear screen, no adjusting the contrast, etc., etc. Yes, the DS should be considered part of this. Keep up the good work. P.S. Review Jaws. Oh, we're going to have to do Jaws.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do Jaws next week.
All right, whatever. Jaws.
All right, Jaws. Jaws next week, fine. Handhelds, though.
Let me see. The Game Gear revolutionized the need for batteries. Because you needed like a million of them.
Yeah, but just look at the Nintendo line.
You know what? Just in Nintendo, the Game Boy Advance, even if we just start there, sparked a whole new interest in the handheld market. So
Yeah.
I think because of that, the success of that, just, you know, it laid way for the PSP and, you know, to come out and all that. So that's a pretty big deal. I think Sega CD maybe kicked everybody into the idea of using CDs as a versus.
Yeah, but that's not a handheld.
Was he just say handheld? Big jump because revolutionary gaming.
Well, yeah, but he says which Game Boy. Which Game Boy? He's talking Game Boy specific.
Oh, whatever.
So Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy.
No, that's not
Pocket.
what it says.
Which Game Boy console do you believe was the biggest jump?
Micro is just a total loss.
I bought that for $9.90, brand new at Toys R Us.
Did you really?
On clearance, yeah.
That thing is actually worth some money, just so you know. If you come across one.
I mean, I still have it. I still play like RPGs every so often. I'll throw in like Breath of Fire.
Because I want to say we sell them like on eBay for like $60, $70, $80, and they like go right away every time.
Maybe I'll sell mine. Then.
Yeah, they're actually worth a little bit of money.
I mean, I do think the Game Boy Advance was the big jump because that's what really showed people that handheld could have a lot of power and not be a complete battery drain, like the Lynx and the Nomad and stuff like that. Because, you know, you had the Game Boy and then Game Boy Pocket made it smaller and Color added the color screen. But, I mean, those were all, like, small steps. When the Advance came out, it was like, oh, my gosh, like, look at these games. Like, I can't believe I can play that.
Yeah, I would stick it between the Advance and the SP because then the SP came and you're like, duh, rechargeable battery pack, duh, lighted screen.
But see, I had the replacement screen that had the light in it on my Game Boy Advance.
The warm light sucked.
No, not the warm light. Like, you actually popped off the screen and put in, like, this little... it was like this kit you would buy online. Oh. And you would put this light that was actually lit your screen.
Of course you bought something that was a do-it-yourself kind of project.
Mod my system, yeah. You
Yeah,
know,
whatever. I don't know. So yeah, Game Boy
like portable
Advance.
Monopoly.
We'll put the SP and the Advance together and just call it Advance as its own category. That was the best one, hands down.
But yeah, I mean,
changed everything.
Because that to me was when it's like, okay, this is not like a toy anymore. This is a console. Like this is a system, not a like just something you throw for kids, like the Tiger LED games.
It was big as a jump as Nintendo to Super Nintendo, in my mind.
Yeah. All right. And next week we have to do Jaws. All right, this one's from Orko. It says, hey, fellas, I don't know if this is really a game question, but I haven't asked much on Video Game Losers lately, and I missed you guys, so here it is. If you had a TV channel, how would you build your programming schedule? Like, what shows would you put on, what times, and what days? I know, personally, I would love to put cartoons in the morning again and mid-afternoons for kids like God intended. Then fill prime time with your shows. It figures that new Toy Smell, VG Losers, etc., fill things out with shows like Psych, Night Court, and an hour of vintage Transformers. Maybe a movie of the week. Gremlins would definitely be first on the movie list. And the movies would be hosted like MST. MST3K, I think he means somehow.
I don't think anybody's going to want to watch a bunch. Well, yeah, you know what? Maybe that would be funny, just our comments on these old shows. But then again, maybe not. Because people just kind of want to watch it. We're like, oh, Gremlins is on. I want to watch Gremlins. I haven't watched it forever. But if we did a Mystery Science Theater themes where we sat and like talked about it as we watched it, commentary.
I don't think if we did that, but I think if we did like split screen where the movie's playing here and then on the other side it's us just getting completely drunk. Like just doing shots, whatever, and just being crazy through the whole thing, that might be irritating.
Maybe.
There's
an additional service where you can push a button and we add our commentary, turn it off if you want to watch the movie. That's a future TV thing. That's
but,
future TV.
Actually, if we were to run it, it'd probably be half of the programming schedule would be infomercials. And we wouldn't do them all in a block. It wouldn't be like midnight to 6 infomercials. Like, we'd be smart about it. It'd be like every other show. So it's like from 8 to 8:30 in the morning, you'd get Thundercats. And then from 8:30 to 9, it's Sunset or Awnings. That way, but you want to stick around because at 9 o'clock is Silverhawks. So you're like, I'll just leave it on while I'm, messing on my tablet.
Or we just do a show where it's like infomercials rehashed. Like in a way we're giving them free advertising, but in a way we're making fun of them and we actually re-edit them and make them ridiculous. Then that would be a good show.
And we'd still make money off of it, which would be the key.
Yeah. Then followed by classic TV shows that we watched growing up, and then of course we have to have USA Up All Night marathon going at 9 o'clock to midnight.
Although not the Gilbert Gottfried ones, we can skip those.
You want the old
just the Rhonda Shear.
Rhonda Shear.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh god, I love USA Up All Night.
That's
my favorite. That is my favorite all time.
Did you ever watch, like, the one thing I would want to do is Saturday night horror movies. Did you ever watch Thriller Theater here in Springfield? Channel 55, our current Fox station, used to be an independent station. And on Saturday nights, they would do Thriller Theater. And they would show movies unedited, horror movies unedited. But, I mean, they'd have commercial breaks. But they would play, like, Friday the 13th, Part 3. Or The Omen. Or The Exorcist. Just random, whatever horror movies, but with all the gore and the nudity and the swearing and everything else, they would just have commercial breaks every so often. But otherwise, you were getting the complete film.
And then Fox took them over. Weird.
And then Fox took them over, and programming got a lot raunchier. It was weird how that works. But yeah, I'd love to do something like that. Do a movie. Like, I might put the Dirt mask back on and have masked Dirt host those horror movies.
Up All Night with Dirt.
Getting
dirty with Dirt. That's a different show.
Dirty Insomnia.
That's a different show.
It'd be me wearing the mask and no shirt. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know.
All right, finally, Chaotix12345 says, Yo, Dirt and Killing, got just one question for you guys again. What are some of your favorite video game commercials, ad campaigns, and advertisements? Personally, I'm a big fan of the really fun Nintendo 64 era ads that used increasingly ridiculous situations to show how awesome a game was. My favorite was the Super Smash Bros. Ad, where giant Nintendo mascot suits beat the crap out of each other. I remember that one vaguely.
I don't really remember any gaming ads.
The one campaign that I remember more than anything else was just Sega!
Yeah.
And like every commercial was just like the Sega screen. And that was like the first like kind of in your face.
Oh,
You're
wow.
welcome. Yeah, first kind of in your face ad campaign for all of that. And the Saturn was a flop of a system, but I love the ads with Ice Cube. Like that was the first kind of inkling that like this guy's not a hardcore gangsta rapper that he appears to be. And then he went on to do like the family movies and stuff.
What was his commercial?
But the commercial, I don't know, it was just like him being like, Sega Saturn! It's the Saturn, yo! Sega Saturn! And then they show like Madden. It's just something, stupid like that. But he had like the black leather gloves on, like OJ style, like trying to look mean and everything. You're just like, dude, you're doing a video game console. And then PlayStation with their whole you are not red E. Like you are, and then not, and then there was a red E. You are not red E. I remember that one.
I should find a bunch of video game commercials and like upload them to YouTube or something.
We should put them in the middle of the show. Like we should take a
Random.
commercial break and just play random old commercials on here. Could we do that? Is that legal?
Maybe not.
Oh,
we'll find out.
We'll do it, and then when they tell us to take him down, then we'll know that it's not.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. All right. Which one you gonna pick here? Don't look at the screen. Are you gonna pick?
Well, there's so many.
Nintendo Power, Revolutionary Game Boy, TV station, or ad campaigns commercials?
That's a really hard decision. What do you think? What do you think? You pick this one.
Yeah, but I know who everybody is who did these.
So do I. There was only 4 questions. Let's get real about this.
Well, let's see. TV was fun to talk about.
I'm leaning Game Boy.
Game Boy or Nintendo Power?
I'm leaning that way.
Game Boy or Nintendo Power?
Game Boy.
Game Boy? Game Boy. All right, that's the Burger General. Congratulations, General. You are our winner this week.
Did he already win?
I don't know. Who cares? Maybe.
Okay.
He'll win twice.
Yay!
Yay, Burger General. Because there's no rule saying you can't win twice.
Okay.
Right? Why not?
Oh, he won something else the last time we did it. Yeah. You win, Burger General. Yeah.
Yay, Burger General. So you're going to get yourself that nice Halo Mega Bloks figure. All right, guys, don't forget, if you want to leave us a voicemail, you can call area code 217-953-4025. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you want us to actually use your call, though, it needs to be like 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. We got a couple phone calls this week that were like 2 minutes and 40 seconds, 5 minutes and something. It's like, yeah, that's great. Thanks for calling. Can't use them.
We couldn't cut any of that.
No, not really.
Okay.
Unless you just wanted the clip that says, "Hey guys," and then that's all we could use out of the call. Also, you can send us emails, killing@popculturenetwork.com, dirt@popculturenetwork.com. You can come to jointheforums.com, go to the fan corner thread. Probably not have a giveaway next week because we're out of the Mega Bloks things, but we'll probably bring it back again at some point down the line.
We'll think of something else.
And then, always, don't forget, if you want to buy great video games, classic retro games like TNC Surf Design Wood and Water Rage.
Everybody loves that game.
You can go to shoppcn.com.
Tell me you didn't play TNC Surf.
And grab a copy of that.
You're a liar if you say no.
I remember renting that from a video store. Anyway.
It was awesome.
So, or the original Metal Gear. Probably a better one to pull out, the original Metal Gear.
Whatever.
Anyway, all right, guys. That's going to do it, I think, for this show. Don't forget that we love you.
And we
Take
think
care of
about
each
you
other.
every day.
Have your pets spayed and neutered.
And eat lots of popcorn.
And don't forget the veggies on the side.
Support Chick-fil-A.
And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time here on the Video Game Loser Show, part of the Pop Culture Network.
Guys, thank you for watching our videos on the Pop Culture Network. We do hope that you will help support us by visiting shoppcn.com. where you'll find all these amazing toys, comic books, DVDs, video games, random geek goodness, all brought to you at an incredibly great price. Every dollar you spend helps contribute to the Pop Culture Network.